Hello everyone, in this video we're going to look at the new features and changes included on Windows 11. This is the first release of the new version and it represents the next generation of Windows, which introduces new features and enhancements in security, productivity, and modernization of the entire experience. Remember to check the video description section to get updated information and the steps on how to get this new version of Windows. There is a lot to cover, so let's dive into it. Windows 11 comes with a redesigned Start menu that ditches the light tiles in favor of traditional icons and a new minimalistic design. The new menu is based on the design that the company was working on for Windows 10X, and as you can see, it floats above the taskbar and it follows the OS style design with rounded corners and semi-transparent materials. The new menu is divided in 4 sections. At the top, you will see that we have a search box, and that as soon as you click it, it will switch to the Windows search experience, which is similar to the one on Windows 10, but with minor tweaks. Then there is the pin section that includes all your favorite apps, and it features multiple pages as you add more apps. So for example, right now I have 2 pages and you can scroll with the mouse, or you can click the buttons at the right size. In the top right corner, you will find the All Apps button. That takes you to another page where you can find all the apps installed on your computer. You can still click the letter to open the dial and jump to a different location in the list. The Start menu also includes a recommended section at the bottom that works like Timeline, which is no longer part of the operating system, and it surfaces the most used items, including documents, folder locations, and recently installed apps. Finally, at the bottom, that's where you will find the profile menu that includes the options to change the account settings, lock, and the option to sign out and switch users. On the right, that's where the power menu is located, but the options here will be different depending on the features of the device. And on the remaining space, which is right here, that's where you can place quick access to folders, including documents, settings, and more. And as you can see right here, I have the button to access the Downloads folder, File Explorer, and to access the Settings app. As you probably noticed, the Start menu now comes aligned to the center, but you can always switch it back to the left side using the Settings app, which I'm going to show you later on the video. You can also still customize various aspects of the experience in the menu to make it easier to find and launch apps. For example, you can still right-click an app to make it available on the pin section. So for example, if you wanted to pin the Microsoft Edge beta app to the pin section, you just right click on it and select the pin to start, and that will appear at the bottom of the list. But you can also right click the application and select the move to top option, so now it will appear first in the list. The context menu for applications also allows you to run the application as an administrator, open the folder location, and you can even uninstall apps. If you're uninstalling a Microsoft Store app, it will not require to go through the steps to uninstall. You just click the uninstall button, it will disappear from the system. But if you're trying to uninstall a classic desktop application, you will still need to go through the legacy process to remove the app. And depending on the application, you also have different options. Let me just show you really quick that if you click the uninstall button, you're also presented with a new dialog box, and here you just click the uninstall button and now that application is gone. Also, in the recommended section, if there is something that you don't want it to appear on the list, you can simply right click on it and select the remove from the list option. If you have been using the operating system for a while, you might also get a more button at the top right to access a different list, like the All Apps list, that shows a lot more recommendations for files and applications that you recently installed. If an item is pinned to the Start menu, but it's not installed on the computer, for example, I know that this app is not installed on the computer. If you click it, you will now see a loading bar and it will proceed to be installed from the Microsoft Store. And now the app is installed on the computer. While there are many good things about the new Start, the menu lacks many features and flexibility of the classic experience. For example, one of the most significant changes with the new design is the light tiles are no longer available. As a result, the option to change the size of each icon is gone. You no longer have the option to use the start menu in full screen. You cannot resize the menu with the mouse, nor there is an option to change the size of the menu in the settings tab. The ability to group apps into folders are gone, and by default, it comes with many apps that are not actually installed on the system. They're more advertisement and they're difficult to distinguish from the install applications. So you might get confused and click the app and you will install something that you didn't want to. Also, in the all apps list, the Windows Administrative Tools folder has been replaced with this Windows Tool option, and when you click it, it will actually open Control Panel to this page that combines all the options previously available on the Windows Administrative Tools folders and Windows Accessories, Windows PowerShell, and the Windows Subsystem folders. Although it might look similar, the taskbar is new. The first thing you'll notice is that the taskbar is now aligned to the center of the screen, and the redesigned experience also includes a new Start button and buttons to access features like Search, Task View, Widgets, and Chat. You cannot remove the buttons within the taskbar, but you can hide them using the taskbar settings page, which I'm going to show later when I'll walk you through the new settings app experience. In addition to the new design, the taskbar also comes with new animations for many actions. For example, when opening an app, when minimizing or maximizing an application. And there is even a new bouncing animation for apps as the account loads during the startup. Under the app button, you also see a new pill shape indicator that changes size for running applications, indicating that you are minimize or maximize. So let's say that we're maximizing the application. As you can see, the pill at the bottom of the icon is larger, and then when you minimize, the pill icon is now shorter. On Windows 11, the taskbar has excellent and not so good changes. For example, the experience now is aligned to the center of the screen by default, but it's possible to change the alignment to the left by modifying the settings. The experience is a little taller than before, and elements such as tooltips, previews, overflow menus, and hovering over a button now follows the new design style with rounded corners and new design materials. Windows 11 also comes with new multitasking improvements, including snap groups, which is a new feature that allows you to hover over an app that belongs to a set of windows snapped on the screen to switch to the snap group without having to resnap anything quickly. The feature is handy when you're working with multiple windows and you suddenly switch to another app and then you want to go back to the group of snap windows. Let me just show you an example. So let's say that we snap two windows on the screen, and then we go to another application. Now, when you hover over an app that belongs to the group Snap Windows, you can select the preview to switch back directly without having to resnap anything. In addition, the taskbar no longer includes a search box. Instead, you will find a search button that opens the search experience, which remains the same as the one available on Windows 10. In this new version, there is also a redesigned system trace that groups related icons into a single button. As you can see, when I hover over the group, that will open the notification center and quick settings. Actually, this one is the notification center, and clicking this group will open the quick settings. However, you can still right click the icon on that group to access different settings. Also, the main taskbar context menu has been removed on Windows 11 and it's been replaced with a single option that opens the taskbar settings page where you can configure various aspects of the experience. I'm going to come back to the new settings app, but just to give you a quick look at the taskbar settings. From here you can hide or show the buttons for search, task view, widgets, and chat. You can also enable or disable the buttons that appear on the taskbar corner. And on the taskbar cover and in here, you can choose whether to show or hide some of the system buttons in the overflow menu, which is this one right here. So let's say if we want to show Teams, we enable that and now you can see it. If you want it to appear into the menu, we just turn it off and that will be available right here. And then there is the taskbar behavior section. And here, that's where you'll find the options to change the alignment for the taskbar and the start menu to the left or center. And you have different options, including the options to show or hide the taskbar, show badges for unseen messages on applications, and there is even an option to show or hide the option to show the desktop. And now there is even an option to choose whether you want to show the option to show the desktop on the bottom right corner. While trying to simplify the experience, it appears that Microsoft is making the taskbar less flexible. For example, the interface is now locked at the bottom and you cannot move it to the top, left, or right side of the screen. You can no longer drop apps or files to pin the items. The ability to show labels for applications is gone. It's no longer possible to change the size of the icons, and you can't change the height of the taskbar either. The option to hide the date and time is gone, and opening the notification center will no longer show the time with seconds. Also the time will only appear in the primary display. Finally, you can no longer hide system icons from the system tray, such as network, volume, power, etc. Action Center is no longer a thing on Windows 11. Instead, now we have two experiences: the Notification Center and Quick Settings. The Notification Center can be accessed by just using the Windows and keyboard shortcut, or you can click the time icon to open that experience. The interface features two stack groups that use the new style design with rounded corners and semi-transparent materials. At the top, that's where you'll find all your notifications. The interface might look different, but it works the same as the experience found on Windows 10. If you have more than one notification from the app, the system will now show you the most recent and hide the rest, and let you know the numbers of unseen messages, as you can see it right here. And you can click that to see those notifications. At the bottom, you will find the calendar with the current date at the top, but without the time. Unlike the calendar in previous versions, this one will not show you upcoming events, nor you can create new events directly from this interface. And there is an option to span or collapse the calendar. If you need to access the notification settings, you can always right-click the notification icon and select the option. And you also have an option to access the Focus Assist settings. Then there is the Quick Settings, which can be accessed using the Windows A keyboard shortcut, or you can click this area right here that includes the network and volume button. In here you will find quick settings for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and airplane mode. You can also activate battery saver, night light. You can change keyboard layout, enable mobile hotspot, nearby sharings, and more. You can also control the volume, and if this was a laptop, you also have the option to control the brightness. If you want to edit the settings, you can click this button, and in here you can remove the item, or you can click this option to add more options to the list. Some features may also have a button next to it where you can find different settings. For example, for Wi-Fi, that will list all the available networks that you can connect to. Also, if you're playing media content from compatible applications such as Microsoft Edge, Chrome, or any other supported media application, you also see new media controls for playing videos, as you can see right here. Windows 11 also includes a feature called Widgets, which is a new interface that it slides from the left side of the screen to provide different types of information such as weather, news, tracking, sport, entertainment, and more. If this looks familiar, that's because it is an evolution of the news and interest available on Windows 10. You can open widgets using the dedicated button on the taskbar, which is this one right here, which is also animated as you click it. Or you can also use the Windows key plus W keyboard shortcut to open and to close it. On tablets and on laptops with touch screens, you can swipe from the left to open the experience. The dashboard takes a big section of the screen, and it includes the time and search box that is powered by Bing and Microsoft Edge. And then you have two areas. The one that shows your widgets with personal stuff, this one right here, and everything at the bottom. That's where you're gonna find your personal feed. The personal section can have widgets to view weather, keep track of your Microsoft to-do list, get traffic information, Outlook calendar, sports, and more. The only caveat is that you can only use widgets created by Microsoft, but at least at this time. In the future, the company might open this feature to other developers to integrate different type of widgets. You can always add more widgets by clicking the settings button, which is at the top right corner, and then selecting the ones you want. For example, sports and tips. And as you close it, you will see the new widgets on this area. You can also move them around. And if you want to remove a widget, you just click the menu, and as you can see, there is also an option to change the size, but if you want to remove it, just click the remove widget. Then there is the news section powered by AI and customized based on your likings. You cannot arrange the cards, but you can always hide, like, and save things for later by clicking the menu button, as you can see right here. Or if you want to hide the story on individual cards, you just click the X button and select the different options that you want. Although you cannot change many settings in the news widgets area, you can open the settings and then you can use this option to personalize your interest. In here you can add what you're interested in, and you can also stop following other interests that you might not like. Since this is a cloud power feature, it will only work when you're signed in with a Microsoft account. If you signed out, the dashboard will appear empty, as you can see right here. So if you close it and then open, you will need to sign in order to start seeing your stuff. And finally, the search box. It's only a search box that anything you type, it will open Microsoft Edge and give you an answer from Microsoft Bing. So let's say we just type Windows 11, and as you can see, the answer will appear on a Bing page. And that was a closer look at widgets for Windows 11. On Windows 11, desktops was previously known as virtual desktops, and it is a feature that allows you to create multiple virtual desktops to separate your work, like gaming, school, and work. The feature works virtually the same as before, but the experience has been redesigned. For example, when you click the task view button in the taskbar, or you use the Windows key plus tab keyboard shortcut, you will find the desktops are now available at the bottom of the screen, as you can see right here. And as before, you will continue to see all the running applications, but Timeline is no longer available since it has been removed from the operating system. Like the rest of the system experience, the interface follows the same Windows 11 new style design with rounded corners and semi-transparent materials. On desktops, you can reorganize and create and customize as many virtual desktops as you need, and each one can have a different background. As you can see right here, the only thing that you have to do is just to create a desktop, and then you can also rename it. So let's just name this one Gaming 2. Then you right click on it and click the choose background, and then you will just select the background. And then when you open the desktop, you can now see that it has a different desktop, and it's a better way to distinguish between each of the desktop more quickly. If you need to reorganize the desktops, you can always drag and just position it where you want it, or you can right click on it and you can move it to the left or right. As part of the Snap Assist feature, Windows 11 is introducing two new improvements, including snap layouts and snap groups, to make it easier to organize and work with multiple windows on the screen. Snap Layouts is a feature that when you're hovering over the Maximize button in File Explorer or any other app, it will give you a visual aid to snap windows on the screen using different grids quickly. For example, here I can select to snap File Explorer on the left, and then the feature will guide you to snap the remaining windows. On smaller screens, you will see a set of 4 snap layouts or 6 layouts on larger screens. You can also open snap layouts using the Windows key and Z keyboard shortcut. Also, while in portrait mode, when using a tablet, when snapping a window on the right and left, Snap Assist will now position one window at the top and the other one at the bottom, because that's the natural way on how this will work. I already showed you snap groups, but just a recap, this is a new feature that allows you to switch back between groups or snap windows. For example, we can snap 2 windows together, and when they're snapped, when you hover over an app that belongs to a group, it makes it easier to switch to that group. If you switch previously to another application, let's say the Settings app, and then we want to switch to the previously snapped windows, we can select the group and we're switched without having to resnap anything. Windows 11 also comes with a new voice typing app that allows you to type using your voice. It is off by default, but you can open it using the Windows key and H keyboard shortcut. And the app has a modern interface and it is straightforward. It includes a microphone button to begin typing with your voice, and the settings menu lets you customize some options, including the ability to enable an options to launch experience faster and to use auto punctuation. This new version of Windows comes with a new version of File Explorer. However, it is not entirely a new application. Instead, it's the same app but with an updated interface. The design was done using the Windows UI or Windows UI library that includes new visual elements, animations, and controls to match the style that Microsoft is pushing with Windows 11. The new File Explorer ditches the ribbon style menu in favor of a new minimalistic header that combines the title bar and the menu into a unified experience that includes a new command bar. The new command bar includes all the commands to perform different actions, including cut, copy, paste, rename, and share, and even an option to delete a particular file or folder. And this time around, the icons no longer include labels, which means that you will have to rely on their shape to know the action that you want to take. You can also hover over the icon and wait for the tooltip to show you the name of the action. You will also notice that it's a new menu that includes all the standard options to create new folders, shortcuts, or documents, which means that you no longer have a dedicated button to create folders. However, you can still use the Control, Shift, and keyboard shortcut to create a new folder quickly. The command bar also includes 3 new menus, including Sort, View, and the See More menu. The Sort menu houses the options to sort the content by name, date modified, type, and more. The View menu can show the files and folders with different sizes, like extra large, large, small, list, details, styles, and content. The option to enable compact view is also available on this list, and as you can see, it just removes some of the padding from the elements. And as you can see, now we have more breathing room for each element. Then there is also the Show menu that allows you to enable and disable different features on File Explorer. For example, you can enable and disable the navigation pane, show details, previews, and you can also, from here, you can select to show the file name extensions, and you also have the option to show or hide files and folders that were marked as hidden. The last menu, that's where you will find different options to, for example, in this case, to undo, select, and access the folder options, which still remains the same as the legacy version of File Explorer. One thing to keep in mind is that, like in the previous version of File Explorer, the commands will change and adapt depending on the file that you're selecting or viewing. For example, like I just selected a zip folder, and now we see that we have an extract all button right here. And also there is a compress to zip file option right here, which we don't have that if we're not selecting a zip folder. For example, if we go to this PC, the options will be different. As you can see, we have the options to add a network location, map drive, or disconnected network drive. And also the new menu will be disabled because you can't actually create a new folder within this section of the application. Also, if you select an image, you will see another set of options available. File Explorer for Windows 11 also introduces a new context menu style. You will see this menu when right-clicking a file or folder. The context menu includes a first row with common commands like for cut, copy, rename, share, and delete. And below you will find the options that you can use with that specific file. Similar to other elements on Windows 11, the context menu follows the new design language with semi-transparent materials and rounded corners. The legacy menu is still available if you need some of the all options that are not available in the new menu. And you can access the legacy view by clicking the show more options, or you can select the file and use the Shift S10 keyboard shortcut to open the legacy context menu. The context menu is also available throughout Windows 11, including when you right click on the desktop. The application also has a new scroll bar that works the same as before, but it has a thinner design, and on the left side you also find a Linux option. And this entry has been designed to give you quick access to the Linux files inside of distros installed using the Windows subsystem for Linux. On this new version, the share experience is also getting an update. On Windows 11, when you click the share button, you will get a new user interface with several improvements. For example, you will now see the preview of the item you're trying to share and an option to enable nearby sharing if that option is available and it is not enabled. If the contact that you're trying to send the file or app is not in the list, now there is an option to select a different application or look up the contact that you want to send the item. In addition to the new interface, File Explorer also includes new default icons with new styles, orientations, and colors. Windows 11 includes new icons for pretty much every element in File Explorer, but the ones you will notice immediately are the default folders for desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, and videos. Let me just switch the size so you can see them larger. There are also new icons for drives and other elements. And there is even 3 new icons for the default folder. One to show that the folder is empty. Another one to show that the folder includes content. As you can see, we see this like white paper kind of like sticking out. This indicates that there's content on the folder. And there is even a new folder for zip files. And that's pretty much a first look at the File Explorer for Windows 11. Windows 11 also includes a new version of the emoji picker that integrates the clipboard history and supports animated GIFs. So to open the clipboard history, you will use the Windows +V keyboard shortcut. And as you can see, now we have the clipboard, and now we can switch to emojis and different icons. And we can also insert GIF right from the experience. As before, you can also access the Kmojis, and you can access symbols. Like every other part of Windows 11, this new interface has a modern design, fluent design visual elements such as blur, transparency, and it includes a new inline search box to make it easier to discover emojis and other icons that you want to use. Also, as part of the Clipboard history experience, you can now click the See More option, and you will have an option to paste as text without the text original style. And of course, you can delete that entry from the list. Finally, if you use a snipping tool, you can now use the Windows key Shift S keyboard shortcut, and the capture will show in the clipboard to paste it on any folder or to save it as a screenshot. Task Manager also gets an update, but not too significant. The only thing that's new on the Task Manager, first, you can no longer right-click the taskbar to access Task Manager. Instead, you have to use the shortcut, actually the Control-Shift-Escape keyboard shortcut, or you want to right-click the Start button and then select Task Manager. So going back to what's new on Task Manager, the only thing that's new, it's now that the application can classify and show the different processes of Microsoft Edge. The classifications is divided into several elements, and they all have different icons to make it easier to identify the process. Windows 11 also comes with a new feature called Auto-HDR for games, and it's a new feature that has been designed to improve the gaming experience by automatically converting compatible titles from standard dynamic range or SDR to high dynamic range or HDR to unlock brighter and bolder colors available on compatible displays that use this technology for a more immersive and realistic experience. Once you enable the feature, you will get a more immersive and realistic gaming experience with an increased range of colors and luminance in more than 1,000 games designed for DirectX 11 and DirectX 12 PC games. Although this is one of the biggest features on Windows 11, it is only supported on specific hardware, which means that you will need a monitor that supports HDR. In addition, Windows 11 comes with Direct Storage, a new technology that allows game assets to load faster to the graphics card without bogging down the processor. In other words, this means faster load times and more detailed game worlds. However, this feature would require at least a NVMe drive and optimization by the game developer. Also, Windows 11 now supports DirectX 12 Ultimate. DirectX 12 is a technology standard for creating and managing games, images, and multimedia that run on Windows-based devices. Windows 11 also includes a new version of the Settings app, which features a new redesigned interface, regroups and integrates new settings, ports more features from control panel, removes the homepage, and a lot more. As part of the new experience, the app includes rounded corners, a semi-transparent interface, and modern and colorful icons. The navigation system is similar to the one available on Windows 10, but now there is more options and the settings are grouped using different logic. When you open the Settings app, you will now notice that you're taken directly to the System section, and that's because the new version ditches the home page. Also, when you navigate to a different section, the pages are listed on the right instead of the left, like on Windows 10. As you drill down through the pages, at the top you will also find new breadcrumbs that will indicate the current location in the app, and you can click each breadcrumb to jump back to a previous page. The settings pages also can now show hero controls for frequently used settings or specific features, as you can see it right here. For example, on the System section, we get a preview of the desktop, an option to rename the computer, and different features such as OneDrive, access to Windows Update, and with some details. For example, last time I checked, it was 3 hours ago, and OneDrive will tell you if your files are getting backed up, and you can also view your Microsoft 365 benefits if you have that subscription. Also, throughout the settings, but not in every category. For example, when you open the power menu, you will now see recommendations for a specific setting. So if you have something different and Windows has a better recommendation, it will tell you to change that configuration. And you can even click the action button to, for example, in this case, to allow the screen to turn off automatically. And that's it. So I'm going to change it back because I don't want to turn off the screen because this is a virtual machine. A lot of the settings are still the same like the ones found on Windows 11, so we're going to concentrate on the new changes for Windows 11. The display page, under the scale and layout settings, on the multiple display section, you will now find two new options that allows the system to remember the locations of the windows depending on the monitor that you have. So if you disconnect the external monitor, those applications will minimize, and then when you reconnect the external monitor, the windows will restore to their original location. Also, if you have compatible hardware, you also see an option on this page that allows you to disable the content adaptive brightness control, or CAVC, on Windows 11. The option will be labeled automatically adjust contrast based on display content to help improve battery. Also, in the advanced display settings page, there is a new dynamic option, which I don't have it here because the computer doesn't support it, but that option will enable dynamic refresh rate, or DRR, in the refresh rate setting. If you choose that option, Windows will automatically lower or increase the display refresh rate to reduce the power consumption on supported hardware. Also, if the display is certified as HDR, you will know the information on this page. On the graphics page, there is a new search box and a list of apps that you may want to customize. Also, nightlight. The page is not getting new settings, but when you turn it on or off manually through the settings or the quick settings menu, the feature will now turn off immediately rather than using a slow transition. On the sounds page, you will find a new option to enable mono audio for people with difficulty hearing, and there is even an option to pair new output devices right from this page. Under the advanced section, you will now find new options to access all the sound devices. There is an option to troubleshoot common problems and other options. The app volume and devices preference now has become the new volume mixer, and this page still has all the same settings that we used to see on Windows 10, and it now replaces the legacy volume mixer menu that we used to see on the taskbar. So now, when you right click the volume icon and you click the open volume mixer, we're taken straight to this page. On the properties page for devices has been redesigned with high quality icons, and now you have driver information, and there are new settings such as to control permission. You can also change the audio format. You can enable or disable the enhanced audio feature, and there is an option to enable or disable spatial sound. In the notifications page, the only thing that's different is that now you only have 3 settings, and there is a new options to access the focus assist settings from this page. In the power settings, you will now notice that the page has been updated, and now it shows the battery usage over time. The storage page has been updated with new features, and the information about the system drive is now front and center. Storage Sense is now located under the storage management section, and the only change on the Storage Sense page is a new option to run the cleanup of temporary files automatically, which is this one right here. And then everything else looks the same as before. Also, one of the new additions to the storage settings is cleanup recommendations. which is a new feature that will let you know the files and apps that you don't need that you can delete to free up space on your computer. So as you can see, the page is divided into 4 different categories, including the temporary files, large and unused files, syncs file to the cloud, and unused applications. So if the system detects any of these things, it will be listed here, and you can simply select what you want to delete, and then just clicking the cleanup button will delete it from that location. In the advanced storage settings section, disks and volumes is a new feature on Windows 11, and this is a replacement for the legacy disk management experience. While that experience, which is this one right here, works well, it is an old experience. So the new one has been rebuilt from the ground up with modern improvements and accessibility in mind. It also features better integration with storage spaces and the storage breakdown page. Like the legacy tool, the new experience allows you to view all the drives connected to the device, and you can also, let me just show you, you can change the drive letter, you can change the label, you can resize the partition, format or delete that partition, and among other things. Even turn on BitLocker if you have Windows 11 Pro installed on your computer. On the properties page for the drive, you can also see some information about the drive, like the name, ID, manufacturer, model, serial number if that's the case, bus type, capacity, and the type of drive that you're using. You can also check the partition style and the status. You can also click the advanced disk properties option, but that will take you to the control panel style properties page where you can see other information. In addition, the experience also includes a health monitor feature to keep tabs on the health of NVMe SSDs. So if there is an issue with the drive, you will see a notification to view more details and access the drive to back up the data before it's too late. The notification will open the drive page where you can find more information, including the life remaining on the drive, temperature, and available space. Windows 11 also brings storage spaces to the Settings app. This means that you can now create and manage storage pools and spaces, and you can add remote drives, optimize pools, and everything else without having to use Control Panel or PowerShell. So just to show really quick, you will simply click the Create button, then you will select the drives that you want to use for the pool, name the pool, and then click the Create button. Then you will choose the name for the space. You will need to specify the size for that storage, which usually you want to use just the default space. Then you need to choose the resiliency option. For the purposes of here, I'm just going to select any of them, this one right here. And to create that space, we just click the Create button. We're going to choose a label, right letter, and the file system. There is advanced options that you can choose, but most of the time you don't need to change those settings. And then just click the Format button to create that space. And for some reason it appears that it didn't format automatically. And as you can see, now we're just creating a space. We can click the properties and we can extend that storage. We can take it offline and we can even delete it. If you want to see the drives that are participating on that pool, we can see them right here. You can add new drives if you have any more, and you should be able to delete those drives if you don't need them anymore. But first you need to delete the space, and then you need to remove each drive individually. And this will remove the pool. And that's the storage spaces on the Settings app. In the multitasking page, you will now see that we have two new options to enable and disable snap layouts, and also for snap groups, which is this one right here. So if you clear those settings when you open an application or file explorer, you will no longer see snap layouts, and when you're snapping two apps, you will no longer see the snap groups option either. Also, as expected, virtual desktops has been renamed to desktops, and all the settings are the same as before. And now the settings app also includes an option to enable and disable the title bar window shake, also known as the arrow shake feature. So if you've never seen that feature before, basically you just shake the one window that you want to use and the rest of the windows will minimize, and you do the same thing to restore all the applications. If you don't need that feature, you can disable through here. On Bluetooth and devices, the devices page now lists all the input, outputs, and other devices connected to your computer, and the Add Devices button will open the wizard to install new peripherals on Windows 11. If you no longer need a particular device, you can click this button and you can click the remove option. The cameras page, it's new on Windows 11, and it now lets you manage webcams and network cameras. If you need to install a network camera, you simply click the search for a camera, and that's all you need to do. And if it is connected, we will find it and you can install it on your computer. If you connect a webcam to the computer directly through USB, or if it is already integrated into the system, you will see it listed right here. And then you can now click this option to access the settings, where you can change different settings like brightness, contrast, rotation, and you have an option to reset the settings. If the camera is capable, you will also see the option to enable and disable video HDR and eye contact. From here, you can also disable the camera, and if it is not working, you can use the troubleshooters built into the system to fix most common problems. Touch, it's a new page on Windows 11, and here you will find all the features regarding touch-enabled devices. Again, because this is a virtual machine, I only get this feature, but if you had a tablet or a laptop that has a touch-enabled screen, you will have different options. Now let's jump into the network and internet section. In here, the Wi-Fi page, it's not new to Windows 11, but now there is an update that shows the available networks without the settings. On Windows 10, when you click the same option, it will open a flyout from the right, where you can choose the network that you want to connect to. Inside of the Ethernet page, now there is an option to enable authentication settings. More specifically, to enable and configure the IEEE 802.1x authentication, which basically is a feature that allows to authenticate in order to allow the computer to connect to the network. So basically, it's a form of authentication at the port level. Also, in this version, you can now configure the DNS settings separate from the IP configuration. Even further, Windows 11 now supports DNS over HTTPS that allows to encrypt the DNS query using the HTTPS protocol for a more secure online experience. And in order to configure encryption, you will need to supply a DNS server that actually supports the encryption method. In the advanced network settings, now there are options that allows you to enable or disable a Wi-Fi adapter as well as Ethernet adapters. The feature is not new to Windows 11, but in the past you needed to use Control Panel to do that. And you can also see some information about that connection. And there is even an option to rename the adapter. In the personalization section, now we can see that we have quick access to switch themes. And actually in the themes page, nothing has changed, but now we can choose from 6 different new themes. And each one include a different set of wallpapers and an accent color. The touch keyboard page, it's new to Windows 11, and it allows you to change the size of the keyboard, and it allows you to change the size of the touch keyboard. Let me just open the keyboard right here. This is actually the new touch keyboard for Windows 11, and you can change the size. Now there are themes that you can choose from, and you can even customize your theme for the keyboard. Even further, you also have an option to enable or disable the key background, as you can see right here. And you can also change the text size for the keys. The start page has also been updated to customize the new start menu. And for example, now you will find 2 options to show recently added items and show the most used applications. Also, there is an option to show or hide recently opened items in Start, Jump List, and File Explorer. So basically, you can now disable the recommended section and just fill it out with all pinned apps. But what you can do is to disable all these options, and that would remove all the recommended items. Like on Windows 10, the folders settings allows you to add or remove items in this section right here at the bottom. So let's say that we want to remove them all, and when we go back we only have the power button. But if you want to add, for example, settings, File Explorer, and network, when you go back to the start menu, you will see those items right here. The taskbar page on Windows 11 has also been updated to reflect the new settings for the experience, which means that you will no longer find options to change the location of the taskbar. Before you could dock it to the top or left or right, but that's no longer possible. You have to always use it at the bottom. You can change the height of the taskbar or change the size of the icons. So what you get now are options to show or hide the buttons, the special buttons on the taskbar, such as search, task view, widget, and chat. For corner icons, the ones that appear right here, you can choose to show the pen menu, touch keyboard, and the virtual touchpad. You can also control the corner overflow, which is this one right here. So if you want certain apps to be visible, such as OneDrive, you can enable it right here. But if you don't want to have that visible, to get more space on the taskbar, you can disable that, and then it will get pushed to the overflow menu. Then we have the taskbar behavior settings, and here's where you can change the alignment of the taskbar. For example, by default it's in the center, but if you like the classic alignment, which is to the left, you can select it right here, and then you can access the start menu in apps like it used to be on Windows 10. Here you can also enable or disable the automatic hiding the taskbar option. You can show badges. If you have multiple monitors connected to the computer, you can show the taskbar on all monitors. And there is even an option to show or hide the option to show the desktop from the bottom right corner. In the apps section, in the apps and features page, now there is a share across devices option, which allows you to pick up an app where you left off on other devices. Under the more settings section, now we have an option called archive apps, which appear to be enabled by default. And this feature is meant to archive apps that you don't use to save space and internet data. The next time that you try to open the app, it will connect to the internet and download the full version again. The optional features page used to be part of the apps and features page, but now it's in a separate page, but nothing else has changed here. In the account section, the Windows backup page is new to Windows 11, and it includes the settings to control different backup options. For example, you can control where to sync your profile folders to OneDrive. You can also turn on the option to remember your apps on Windows, and there is even an option to control the preferences that you want to sync to the cloud, including password, language preferences, and other settings. On time and language, the typing page is not new, but before the settings were located in the devices section. On Windows 11, ease of access now has been renamed to accessibility, and there's not a lot going on this section. The only thing is that the display page has been renamed to visual effects, and the mouse pointer page has been renamed to mouse pointer and touch, and the settings are the same as before. On Windows 11, the privacy section has been renamed to privacy and security, and as the name implies, now the section includes settings for security and privacy. For security, you can access the Windows security status. Then here's where you find the option to find my device and other settings. And on this section, that's where you also are going to find the for developers page, where you can change some developer related settings on Windows 11. As before, you can change the Windows permissions and apps permissions. Also, as part of the app permissions, you will now find two new options, including screenshot borders and screenshotting apps. And basically this one right here allows you to control if apps can choose to access the screenshot borders. And on this one, allows you to control whether apps can grab screenshots. Finally, Windows Update gets its own section, and the page now includes a colorful icon and improvements to better communicate the status of updates. Also in this section, that's where you'll find the settings to view the update history, access to the advanced options, and enroll the computer in the Windows Insider program. In addition, when a new update is ready for your device, the Settings app will now inform you how long that update is going to take to apply. However, this feature is only available on devices using solid-state drives or SSDs. If you want to check for updates, just click the button and you will see a new animation as well. You can still pause updates. You can access the update history, which now looks much better, and it is just overall better organized. In the advanced options page, everything is the same, but you will find additional options that will take you to other pages within the Settings app. For example, if you click Recovery, it will take you to System Recovery. If there are any additional updates for your computer, including drivers, they will be listed right here. One last thing that is new on this page is this new Configure Update policy. And here, that's where you can go to verify if any policies has been applied by your network administrator, or if you updated the group policy. That's where those policies will be listed. And those were basically all the major changes that you're going to find in the Settings tab for Windows 11. On Windows 11, you can also now reset Universal Windows Platform or UWP apps using a PowerShell command. And here's an example of that command. This is your typical command to query the application, and the option that makes the reset possible is this new Reset Apex package. Once you specify the name of the application and the reset option, just press enter and that will reset the application. Of course, this is in addition to the option that you can use to reset applications through the Settings app. However, this is going to become a convenient way to reset components that are not available through the settings, such as the Start menu. On Windows 11, SMB Compression is a new feature designed to request files compressing during the transfer over the network. The idea of this feature is to make file transfer faster, reducing bandwidth for large files without having to compress the files at the source and then decompress the content at the destination. Usually you will see the benefit of SMB compression on networks with less bandwidth, for example on devices with 1 gigabit Ethernet or Wi-Fi adapters. However, if you have, for example, 2 servers with 100 gigabit network adapters with solid-state drives, you might not see the benefit of this type of compression. In practice, it might even take more time. There are many ways to configure SMB compression. You can do it at the server or you can do it at the client computer. And there are different situations where you can use it. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to show you how to mount a network drive using compression. So you will type the netuse command to mount a drive like you normally do, but at the end you will use the request compression with the yes option. And now you mounted the network drive and the communication will use this new SMB compression. Now, for example, if you want to use robocopy to copy files from the server into your computer and you want to use compression, you will type the command as you will normally do, but then at the end you will use the compress option. And that's the basics on how SMB works on Windows 11. I will be leaving a link in the video description that includes a written guide on how to use this feature in more detail. Windows 11 also comes with DiskUsage, which is a new command line tool that allows you to quickly analyze the contents of a given folder or the entire drive to understand how the space is being used and find out the files that are taking the most space, which can come in handy when trying to free up space on the computer. So the command to use DiskUsage is just DiskUsage, and just to see all the options, we're gonna use the /?, and those are all the options that you can use. Just to give you an example, I'm going to query the space usage for the downloads folder on my account. So this is the command and the path, and the H option is not a requirement, but it will show the amount of storage in a more readable format. As you can see, now we have the site on disk and files directory path. And as you can see, this is how much space is using the downloads folder. There is a lot more that you can do with this tool, and I have also a tutorial on how to use this tool, so make sure to check the video description for a link to the written instructions. Windows 11 now ships with an updated version of the Windows subsystem for Linux that supports the ability to install Linux GUI or graphical user interface apps as if they were natively installed on Windows. In other words, you can now use your favorite Linux editors, tools, and applications on Windows 11 without the need to switch to devices or creating a virtual machine. In addition, Microsoft is also making it easier to install all the components to get you up and running quickly and easily. For example, now to install all the components of the Windows subsystem for Linux only takes one command, and that command is the WSL install command. This command will install everything you need, even the components, to run Linux GUI apps. As you can see, everything is getting downloaded. And the WSL install command also have other options, and by default, if you don't specify, it will download and set up the Ubuntu Linux distribution. As you can see right here, because I used the default command, it's downloading Ubuntu. Now, in order to apply all the changes, the only thing that you need to do is to reboot the computer. And also, Windows 11 now includes the WSL update command to check and download updates for the Windows subsystem for Linux. And to apply the changes, you have to type the WSL shutdown command. Now, to install Linux GUI apps on Windows 11 through WSL is the same process as installing the same apps on any distro of Linux. First, you will need to open the distro, and then you will first do a sudo apt-get update. And then you will type the sudo apt-get install and the name of the application that you want to install, and then press enter. And that's it. You just install a Linux GUI app on Windows 11. After the installation, the app will even register into the start menu, and you can find it by going to the All Apps menu, and then you can use the dialer to jump into the distro installation. And here we can see that we have a new folder and different things that were installed, but the one we're interested in is the text editor. And when you click that, you now get a Linux GUI app with all the elements and visuals that you will normally see on a Linux application. You can click open and browse to the different sections. You can even browse to the file system on that Linux distribution. All the menus and everything works as you would expect. There is even an icon that indicates, I don't know if you can see it, but there is an icon within the icon that lets you know that this is not a Windows application. The experience using the graphical Linux app on Windows 11 feels native, but it's not. The app renders with all the visual elements that you will see in Linux, like the frame, menus, and all the other elements. And there is even a shadow around the frame. I don't know if you can notice, but there is that shadow that makes it look like it's natively installed on Windows 11. However, this is a remote desktop connection, which Microsoft is probably leveraging with the remote app feature built into the operating system. Even if we go to the task manager, you will see that we have a remote connection established. And then when we close it, that goes away. You can also launch the app from the Linux console. In this case, we're just going to type the gedit, and that opens the application as well. The ability to run Linux GUI applications on the Windows subsystem for Linux is a feature meant for developers to test their apps, but you can use implementation for any situation. The Linux GUI apps on Windows even include support for speakers and microphone, which means that if you install a media app, the peripherals will pass through and appear on the app. GPU accelerated 3D graphics is also supported to run apps that need more complex 3D rendering, leveraging OpenGL. When using this feature, you don't have to run an X server manually, since the WSL automatically starts a new companion system distro, which includes Wayland, X server, Pulse audio server, and all the required components. After you close the app and the WSL session, the system distro will end automatically. Also, in WSL, the default path has changed to wsl.localhost and the name of the distro. In the past, the path was WSL, and this new change will improve reliability and performance. However, according to Microsoft, you can still use the old path to access the Linux files. On Windows 11, the Windows subsystem for Linux also ships with a new feature that allows you to attach and mount physical drives to access Linux system files like the ext4 that is not natively supported on Windows. This new feature allows you to access Linux files using File Explorer on a doable system running Windows 11 and a distro on a different drive. So this is an example on how you will go to seeing the drive, and this is the command that you have to use to mount a physical drive into the Windows subsystem for Linux. I have a tutorial on how to do this, and I will be leaving a link in the video description so you can follow through if you ever need to do this in your computer. Also on Windows 11, the custom Linux kernel from the Windows system image has been removed, and it is now available through the Microsoft Store. Finally, there is a new option to run Linux commands on the startup of the distro. If you want to use this feature, you need to edit the WSL config that is available on the distro and add the command and add the option under the boot section. And that's pretty much all that's new with the Windows Subsystem for Linux update for Windows 11. In addition to all the visual changes and features, Windows 11 also includes many changes under the hood. For example, when you install the new operating system, it should feel snappier and more responsive. And this is because of the work that Microsoft has done to manage resources much better. You will see this when the computer is under heavy load and you can still launching apps, or when using Microsoft Edge and opening a lot of tabs, for example. Also, there has been work done on the sleep mode feature on Windows 11, and because of this, the computer should resume at least 20% faster. Windows Hello has been optimized and now is up to 30% faster. And Microsoft also has reduced the overall footprint of the installation of Windows 11. And this was done by expanding the compression technologies on the operating system, and also now non-critical built-in applications such as Microsoft To Do, Sticky Notes, and other apps. They're now not actually installed by default. You will see them, but they will install when you first start the application. Even further, after installing Windows 11, you will notice that updates will download and install faster. And this is because Windows includes several optimizations to the update engine, which improves how updates are packaged. For example, when a new update is released, Windows 11 will compare the components available on the computer, and then it will only pull down the necessary changes, making updates up to 40% smaller. And instead of 2, Microsoft is now planning to release only 1 feature update per year for Windows 11. On Windows 11, Microsoft is also removing the tablet mode quick action button for non-touch devices to avoid confusion. In other words, only touch-enabled devices will be able to switch to the touch experience. For devices with touch screen, there is a new logic to allow users to boot into the appropriate mode according to the mode and where the keyboard was attached or not. Windows 11 is changing the tablet posture logic for compatible devices to apply when using a single screen mode. Also, when removing the keyboard, you will notice more separation between icons, making it easier for touch. The buttons and other targets on Windows are now bigger, and a second window will snap on top of the other window when you snap 2 windows in portrait mode. Windows 11 now supports the same touch gesture when using trackpad. For example, you can now swipe with 3 fingers down to minimize windows on the screen. If you use the pen, there is now support for haptic feedback. If you're using an ARM-based device, Windows 11 also includes a new x64 emulator that will allow you to install x64 applications from the Microsoft Store apps and other sources. As part of the new Windows 11 overhaul, Microsoft is also updating many of its inbox apps like the Microsoft Store, Paint, Calculator, Clock, Tips, and Snipping Tools. And it's introducing a few more apps such as Power Automate and Chat from Microsoft Teams. Perhaps one of the biggest improvements for apps on Windows 11 is the addition of the new Microsoft Store app. The app has been completely redesigned with a new interface and animations, making it easier to search and discover content. When you first open the app, you will notice there is a search box front and center where you can find apps more easily. And the navigation now appears to the left side of the screen with the different categories that you can browse. Pretty much all the same categories is still the same, but the deals tab, it's gone in this version. When you open an app, you will notice that we have a transition between the home page and going to the app, and there is a new layout that makes it easier to download and install the application from the left. And on the right, you get the screenshots to get a little preview of the app. And as you can see on this version of the Microsoft Store, we get a lot of the design improvements with rounded corners, semi-transparent materials, and more. Now, if you open a game or a video, the layout it's a little bit different. As you can see, we have a vertical orientation, but pretty much everything else is the same. It's just how it is laid out. But when you scroll down, we also get this floating bar that makes it easier also to get that content. So this is how the apps section looks like. This is the gaming section. Also, as you can see, the layout for the homepage for each section has changed, and now we got this like carousel, the changes promoting a different content. Then we have the library section, which is where you will find all the apps installed on your computer and all the apps that you own across devices. This page has been updated to make it easier to sort the applications by the different categories. And even there is an option to view the apps included on your device, but you're going to see this populated if you're having a branded computer. Also from this section, that's where you can get updates for all your apps, and even though they update automatically, sometimes you may need to update manually. For example, we have an update that hasn't been downloaded for photos, and to update that app, we just click the update button. And that's it. If you want to check if any of your apps have any updates, we just click the Get Updates button, and the app will check for any updates. Then there is the profile menu that includes different options to manage the account and devices, but that will take you to the Microsoft account online. You can add your payment methods, you can redeem codes or gift cards, and then there's the app settings. And on this page, that's where you can decide if you want apps to update automatically, which is on by default, and you can set different permissions for offline and purchase sign in if you want that to be required to make purchases. And also there is a video autoplay, so if you go to a product page, videos will play automatically. If you don't want that to happen, you can change that here. But there's nothing else going on the app settings. Finally, the Microsoft Store will now allow developers to make available any type of apps, including traditional Win32, .NET, and web applications. Also, developers now have the options to bring their own monetization platform to keep all the revenue, but the option to use the Microsoft Commerce services will still be available. And even further, the Microsoft Store will now allow third-party store to come to the Microsoft Store. For example, we know that the Amazon App Store, it's going to be available at one point into the Microsoft Store to bring Android apps to Windows 11. Also, Epic Games will be eventually part of the store as well. So there are a lot of things to be excited about this Microsoft Store app. In this new version, the Get Started app is a new application to help beginners get set up quickly. The app is basic and it shows things like how to get started with File Explorer, downloading apps, navigating the interface, and just going through the basic. I'm just going to go through this slideshow, which is pretty much what it is. And as you can see, it only highlights some of the most interesting features on Windows 11. And that's it. It's just a really simple app to get people started using the new operating system. Then there is the Tips app, which also has been updated, and it is similar to the Get Started app, but it includes tips to learn how to use Windows 11. The app has been available in previous versions, but now offers a new interface that matches the new language design, and it features more than 100 new tips. So this is how the app looks like. And these are the different categories. For example, like if we go to get started around Windows, you can see that some of the tips have animation, and it even has a button to get started using that particular tip. You can navigate through all the tips of that section. And there is keyboard shortcuts, where you can learn how to use the keyboard to get around Windows without using the mouse. Personalization, and sometimes the tips will tell you about the tip and you can even start using that tip. And for example, here we can open the start menu to get started, in this case customizing the start menu. The Calculator app is also receiving an update, and this new version has been rewritten in C# and introduces a fresh new look that follows Microsoft's new design language with rounded corners and new materials. The app is pretty much the same as before, and there's some tweaks here and there, but pretty much everything is still the same. On Windows 11, the Alarms and Clock app now becomes just Clock. And along with the new name, the app gets a new interface with rounded corners and semi-transparent materials. Also, this new version comes with focus sessions, which is meant to be a new feature to help users to focus on task and work. Focus sessions integrates with the Spotify, allowing you to create sessions while playing your favorite music playlist to focus and get the work done. So first, you need to open the app and sign in with your Microsoft account if you haven't done that. And here I have the integration with Microsoft To Do, and then if you want, you can link your Spotify account. Once you link the applications to the Clock app, you simply need to select the task that you want to do and the music that you want to play, and then set the minutes that you want to be in focus doing that task. And here the session will automatically schedule one break, and then to start the session, just click the start button, and that will open Spotify, play the music, and the timer will begin. As you do more sessions, everything will be tracked on the daily progress, which you can also edit. If you want, you can also click this button to keep the widget on the screen without adding too much distraction. Then the app is pretty much the same as before. You get your timers, alarms that you can set, stopwatch, and world clock. And here are a few settings that you can configure on the app. Then there is the new updated Photos app, which is kind of the same as the one before, but this new version has been updated to match the design language of Windows 11, and there are a few tweaks to make it easier for users to organize and edit their pictures. The Photos app still has the same 5 categories like collections, albums, people, folder, and the video editor. Selecting a picture will now open, taking the entire canvas of the application, and there is a floating bar that gives you access to all the commands. The commands are pretty much the same as before, but now there is an option to view all your favorites, because you can now favorite pictures that you like the most, and there is an option to draw in the picture. You can use a ballpoint pen. You can also use a pencil. You can erase the stroke, and you can save the changes. If you want to see the file information, it's right here. This is the same as before, but now it just looks a little bit different. This is the main menu, and as you can see, we get the new design style for the context menu, and we have the same options as before, but we got a few new options. Another feature that you're going to notice on the Photos app is this new tray where you can compare multiple photos side by side, and this one could be useful to get rid of those duplicate photos and just to decide which one looks the best. You can also favorite your picture, or you can delete that image if you don't like it. The Photos app still comes with the video editor, but still completely the same as before. The only difference is that now the interface has been updated, so it looks more with the design of Windows 11. And as you can see, it appears it's still a little buggy because it just restarted on me. Then there is the new snipping tool. Instead of removing the legacy application, Microsoft is combining the modern snip and sketch with the legacy snipping tool, and it has created one single application to take screenshots on Windows 11. The new snipping tool retains a similar look as the legacy version, but the interface has been modernized to follow the Windows visual design language. Also, the app brings the best features available in a snip and sketch. For example, when you open the app, you will get the same familiar design, but with Windows 11 elements, like the semi-transparent material, rounded corners, and the new iconography. When you take a screenshot, we now get this editor that looks like the one in a snip and sketch, and you have all the same features. You can crop, you can annotate, you have the eraser, ruler. So pretty much the editor that was available on Snip and Sketch is available on this new snipping tool. Microsoft has also updated the inbox, mail, and calendar apps, but everything is pretty much the same as before. It's just some rounded corners here and there, as you can see right here in the search box. Right here, I don't know if you can notice, but this notch right here has rounded corners, and nothing else has changed. And the reason might be because the company is still working on a new application that we might see in the future. Windows 11 also comes with a feature called Chat from Microsoft Teams. Basically, Microsoft is bundling its customer version of Microsoft Teams into the operating system. And when using this feature, you can do one-to-one calls or group audio and video chat. You can also create joint meetings and a lot of other stuff. So when you open the interface, you will need to set it up for the first time, which is really easy. It's just like next, because you're already using a Microsoft account on your Windows 11 account, so that's the one that's going to use by default. And then you can sync your contacts if you want. And let me just show you that you can do video chat and text chat. As you can see, this is the interface of how that chat looks like. And from here, you can also open the Microsoft Teams app. And from here, you can look your activity feed. You can see the calendar and create new meetings or join meetings. And there are different settings that you can configure. This application starts automatically when Windows starts. So if you don't want that, you can click the clear the auto start Teams option. There's some notifications, appearance, and this is really basic. That's the new application that allows quick communication between Windows users. Then there is the new Power Automate application, which allows you to automate web and desktop applications by mimicking your interface actions like clicks and keyboard inputs to automate repetitive tasks. Although the app is designed to help you get done things quicker, those things are repetitive, the app is not so simple to configure. If you want to create one automation, there is a lot of settings that you can configure. I'm just going to show you how the app looks like, but you can play it around after you install this new version of Windows. So there is a lot of things and customizations that you can use, and it can be really powerful if you know how to configure it. Windows 11 also introduces a new out-of-box experience. This is the experience that you usually go through to complete the initial setup of the operating system with a new account, privacy settings, and custom preference when you're setting up a new device or after a clean installation. As you can see, the new experience moves away from the blue and dark colors, more intuitive and friendly interface to match the modern design of Windows 11. As you go through the new experience, you will find animations that move through each page. In this new experience, Microsoft is even adding a new option to set the computer name as you complete the setup in the new version of Windows. Once you enter the computer name, the computer will restart and pick up where you left off. If you don't want to set up a computer name, you can click the skip for now option and you can continue through the setup. And all the options still the same as before, or at least pretty much. So here we're setting up the Pro version of Windows 11, so we get the option to how we want to set up the computer. In this case, set up for personal use. And one thing that's different when setting up an account on Windows 11 is that you're kind of like forced to use a Microsoft account, and the option to use a local account is very into this menu right here. And if you're using the home version of Windows 11, the only option that you have is the one to create an account with the Microsoft account. Of course, there is a way around that, and I will be leaving a link in the video description with a video on how to set up Windows 10 Home using a local account. You can also create a pen. Also, this part of the out-of-box experience is new on Windows 11, and basically it allows you to continue with a clean setup, or you can also restore some of your settings and applications using a previous backup of a computer that you had previously configured. So here's suggesting that I can restore the settings and apps using this backup, but if you have different computers, you can choose from different backups to restore. Usually I will just use the set as a new device. Of course, you have to configure your privacy settings. Once you enable or disable the settings as you want to, you will need to click the set button to continue. Here you can customize your experience, and basically here you're just telling Windows what kind of ads and recommendation you want to see throughout the experience. And if you don't want to configure this, you can skip it. You can also back up your files on your computer to the cloud, or you can leave them on your computer. That's up to you. For this demo, I'm just going to select this option. Microsoft also wants you to install the Office apps, and if you don't have a subscription, they will want you to get one, but you can always skip this option. And that's it. that was the out-of-box experience on Windows 11. And that's pretty much all that's new on Windows 11. Overall, it is a great operating system that introduces a much needed interface lift and delivers a lot of new features and improvements. The new version seems very stable, and since it is based on Windows 10, most of the drivers and applications should work in this new version. However, there are some caveats with this release. For example, you will still find many interface inconsistencies throughout the experience, like menus and elements that haven't been updated to the new design language. Also, there are still a lot of legacy tools that remain present, like Control Panel, and many others were not updated, such as Task Manager and Device Manager. When navigating in performing tasks, Windows feels snappier and stable, but there are still many design bugs and other things that are incomplete or that are not working correctly. In addition, during the initial rollout phase, many features like Android apps won't be part of Windows 11. One of the major problems with this release is increase in the system requirements that requires significantly new processors and security features like TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot, which as a result will leave many good working computers without the chance to upgrade. Remember to like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and I just hope this video was informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.